I made a spider farm in Minecraft, and the craziest part is that it's actually pretty easy to make. Now, I wanted to make a video on a couple different things, but I realized that a lot of the things that I had to do to get to that point were not going to be very entertaining. But I also didn't want to leave you completely confused on what even happened, so I'm going to give you a quick recap on everything that has happened before we get into the big spider farm that I managed to make. If you want to skip ahead right now, that's fine. I have the timestamp right up on the screen for you. Well, of course, one of the first things that I had to do was grind a little bit, get myself to a good spot with my armor and tools. My next idea came up when the Pale Forest update was released. It was something that was kind of interesting to me, and I wanted to see if I could find the pale forest for its pale wood. Unfortunately, I was unsuccessful, but I did find 2 dogs in basically every other tree along the way. After I had gotten back, I had no idea what I was supposed to do, so I decided that I wanted to try and enchant my gear. But there was a problem. A few problems, actually. You need way too many books to even enchant your gear, so I had to figure something out for that. So I made a cow farm, a basic cow farm where I was just breeding them and killing them for their leather. That was a pretty quick solution, and that actually allowed me to get my enchantment table. The other problem that came along was the fact that I need experience to actually enchant my stuff. So I tried making a farm, and it didn't really work, which leads us to where we are now. I knew that I could get a lot more XP if I tried to make an actual efficient mob farm using a mob spawner, but I couldn't find one anywhere. But I did have something. I had a mineshaft, and mineshaft have cave spider spawners. And then I had an idea. You see, there's usually a reason behind why people don't do things, and I probably should have taken that as a hint. You see, the biggest problem about making farms revolving around spiders is that they tend to block things up. They have actually pretty weird proportions compared to other mobs, and that makes things very, very difficult. Normal spiders have 1x2 block bodies, basically, and so they'll fit through things that other mobs can't, and they'll get stuck in places that other mobs can. That's actually why I went for the cave spider for this one, because they actually have proportions that are smaller. They are smaller in general, which actually makes them easier. The other problem with spiders in general is that they're able to climb walls, which makes it very difficult to deal with. But as of recent, I actually learned that there are a few blocks that cave spiders and spiders can't climb on. One of those is glass panes, and that's the real key to being able to do what I did. I actually don't have much else to talk about, but I'm sure you guys are here to learn how you actually make one of these things. And trust me, for spider farms, you will see some results. So say this is your spider farm right here. What you're gonna want to do first is build a box around it. Something that they can spawn in. This box, this frame, needs to be about 13 blocks of length, 13 blocks of width, and 11 blocks of height. That means on the inside it is going to be 9 blocks high, 11 blocks of width, and 11 blocks of length. That's if you're mining it out. Just about when you're done, what you're gonna want to do next is make a hole right underneath that mob spawner. This hole needs to be about 12 blocks deep, and it needs to look a little bit like what is going to be shown in a second. What I'm pretty sure I'm doing here in the recording next is actually lining the walls with glass. You only need to do this for the first layer to keep the monsters, the spiders, from climbing that wall. Like I mentioned earlier, you need to make this 12 blocks deep, but you also need to line this hole with glass panes to keep the spiders from climbing back up and killing themselves. I also forgot to mention that you probably want to get rid of those corners right there. Not a big deal. You just also need to line those with glass panes. It's a lot. Once you're just about done with that, you can go back inside and check out what amazing creation you've made so far. I know it looks horrible, but that's fine. It's supposed to. Then place buckets of water in each corner. That causes the spiders to to flow down into the center and die. Well, not quite yet. You need to kill them yourself so you can get that experience. And to make your collection station, you actually want to start by destroying the corners of the bottom layer of that tube that you just made. This keeps them from actually climbing back up. Next, you need to line those walls with whatever solid block you have available so they actually don't escape through the corners that you just destroyed. This design is actually a work in progress and it kind of needs to be revised a little bit. The front is where you're going to be collecting and killing those spiders, so you actually want to break those blocks. And then you want to place a chest and hopper because of course nobody actually wants to be carrying around all those spider eyes. Forgot to mention this earlier, but it's probably a good idea to actually place a second layer around the entire base of this thing. This is all because I'm actually super anxious and I don't know if this actually does anything at all. You're also going to want to make a way for you to, you know, get up there, a platform if you will. Granted, I am also floating in the sky. Make sure to place that block next to the chest. It's actually pretty important. Go ahead and grab some stairs if you can actually frickin' find them. And then go ahead and place those stairs as shown on screen. One on the left side and one on the right side. Cover up that top bit that I forgot to. And place one last stair in a very inconvenient spot. This inconvenience is clearly displayed by yours truly, all to the point where I realized that I placed the platform on the wrong elevation. So let's make a second platform that juts out a little bit more. Now get in there and destroy those torches that are keeping those things from spawning. Unfortunately, you are going to see them shove each other around just a tiny bit, but that's not going to be way too problematic. You're almost done, but there is one tiny little problem that can be fixed pretty easily. You see, you actually have to be pretty close to the actual spawner for monsters to spawn through it. So the best thing that you can actually do is make some kind of way up to that area where they're spawning, whether that means you need to make a staircase or a ladder, just anything that works. In my case, I used a staircase because that's what was in my hotbar. Now we're kind of at the end. It should work as well as I've gotten it to. I'm sure someone smarter than me is able to make this much better, but this is my basic model design for a spider farm, a cave spider farm. And that's all I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and maybe even subscribing so you can see more content like this and watch me through my journey through this Minecraft world. I hope to give you much more interesting content in the future, and if this was interesting or helpful enough for you, then I am very, very glad. Have a great day and see you guys in the next one.